You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggles, stories, and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. Past episodes of the Authentic Business Adventures program can be found on the podcast link at thedrawencustomers.com. We're coming to you from the Sun Prairie Community Radio Stations underwritten by Bank of Sun Prairie. My name is Rachel Rasmussen, and I am your guest host today. I am going to be interviewing James Kademan. We're doing this for a very special reason. I sort of commandeered the microphone today.
Nice.
Because James and the Authentic Business Adventures podcast is celebrating 100 episodes.
Yeah, woo! 100 episodes. That's
100
crazy.
episodes. So I figured it was a good time to put James in the hot seat.
This is a new place for me. I like it.
I kind of figured as much. Mm-hmm. So I figured it was a good idea because, well, you know, James, you and I have known each other for what, a dozen years?
Oh, yeah.
Roughly.
Tons, forever. Yeah.
So I figure I can... I've known you long enough and I know you well enough to see if I can make you a little uncomfortable.
Oh, challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. So 100 episodes.
Yeah.
So tell me why you started the podcast to begin with.
Oh, boy. So I was just talking with, who was I talking to? I was talking with someone about being on the backside of the entertainment realm. So let me go back to Britney Spears, right?
Your favorite. I know it.
Britney Spears in her song Circus, right?
Mm-hmm.
She says there's only two types of people in the world today, the ones that entertain and the ones that observe. I love being the entertainer because I hate being in the crowd, standing in line or waiting. And so I like to be the bartender or the server. I worked at a concession stand forever at a movie theater, right?
Okay.
So I like to be the one that's entertaining, even though at all the jobs I've had that I was entertaining, it was grossly underpaid. And arguably with this one, I'm not paid at all. So it's just fun. It's fun for me because you get to make people happy. You get to learn something in the process. And even though I don't want to say that I'm the center of the attention because I'm doing everything I can to make my guests the center of attention, but I get to learn, and it's fun. It's so much fun.
Well, what's the most fun you've had? Like, talk about if you
ever or on this.
No, not ever on this show. What makes a fun guest?
You know, the best part that I love about this show is I'll invite a guest that I've known for years, and I'll get them on the show, and within 5 minutes, I'll learn something about them that I had no idea, but it was like some huge major milestone that they set forth, or some life-changing event, right? I'll learn that somebody was starting a business, going through the divorce, having a kid, moving, and doing all this stuff all within the same 6 months. And I know them just from a networking group as like the person that hustles carpet or something like that, right? Like, wait, you did all that? That's crazy. And stuff that I would never have known.
So it gives personality to the...
Totally. Yeah,
Okay.
you get some background.
Yeah,
Instead
a
of
little
just,
perspective.
you're the person selling X, Y, or Z, whatever. And I know you not very in-depth at all because we're not talking about stuff like that.
Right.
Right? Like, hey, tell me about your life story. No one asks that, or it's rare.
So let me ask you this.
Sure.
Doing this show, has it changed how you approach? Because I know networking is a big part of how you find business in your other companies. Has it changed how you meet new people, like out and about?
A little bit. Only, I would say it's more broad in the perspective that I always know that somebody has a deeper story than what they're telling you, right? And whether they're willing to tell you or it's just not practical, hey, how's it going? Tell me about your business. They're like, I got divorced 10 years ago. I had 17 kids and I moved across the country. There's rarely a good time to answer with something like that. So, but it continually teaches me that people are much deeper than we give them credit for.
Sure.
Everybody's got a story.
Sure.
Literally everybody.
Everybody's fighting the good fight.
Yeah.
Awesome. So is there anybody you would love to have? Okay, it's kind of that question of like if you could have dinner with somebody that were alive, who would you like to have on the show?
I met, you remember the show Friends, right?
I do, yeah.
Okay, you remember the show Friends? You remember Air? You breathe it? Okay, the show Friends. I went to Los Angeles, a few weeks ago, and I sat next to Gunther. And I didn't know it was Gunther. He was just a guy at a bar. And I was talking, and I'm like, so what's your story, right? And we're talking. He's like, I was Gunther. But before he said he was Gunther, he said, I came to Hollywood, I had $200, and I just worked it out.
Okay.
And I'm like, what was your big break, right? Because you didn't move away, and you're not homeless. We're in this bar, right? Look like you're doing okay. And I learned that he was Gunther. And it would be super cool to have a conversation with Gunther on the air.
Okay.
Because I'm fascinated with the whole Hollywood story. I met tons of what I would consider to be closet actors, actresses, comedians, stuff like that in Los Angeles. And it just blows my mind how there's just this huge struggle, and then they'll get a part and there's a decent sized payout.
Okay.
Some of them even have residuals and stuff like this. There's a huge business back end that I don't understand
Okay.
with acting and famous people, I guess. And I want to learn about that. Not to be famous, just because I'm super curious. Just like the Poison song, right? Mama's Fallen Angel.
Yeah.
Yeah, great song.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, like, people move out there, right? Just cut off all ties or just go out there with their $200, see what can happen. And I want to know about that. That's so cool.
Well, that's kind of the same story of anybody who starts a business.
True. Very true.
Just on obviously a much smaller scale.
Right.
Less public
Yeah, there's a
scale. But
I feel like there's risk.
Yeah, it takes a certain, it's kind of like that that formula where it's like it takes a certain personality to work for yourself or start a business, whether it's a small little professional services or if you want to start a restaurant or retail. Like I feel like there requires that same foundational piece.
Sure, that's fair.
Just personality wise, and like doing the 8 to 5 thing has to be very, very painful.
Right.
For those of us who,
because
I've been in business, it'll be 12 years next year.
Nice.
So, it's hard to imagine a real job.
No. I couldn't picture it at all.
Yeah.
There's times, it's interesting. I just got a box of my books, right?
Right.
And I gave one of them to one of my new employees. And in there, I talk about not being an employee. I'm thinking, this guy reads this. Or it talks about being a business owner, the different stages of business ownership, right? You're sole proprietor, where it's just you essentially own your job. And then you move up to manager, where you have employees and stuff like that. And then you graduate essentially to the point of nirvana, where you're just
living the dream.
Yeah, you're bringing money in, but you're not needed in the business.
Right.
Which is kind of cool.
Right.
We all struggle or strive for that. I shouldn't say all of us. Most of us strive for that, but that's tough.
Yeah.
Very challenging.
For sure.
Right? Because even if you have a huge company, you think like, I'm reading a book by Jack Welch from GE, right? Multi-billion-dollar company, and when he went away, GE's kind of having some rough times now.
Yeah, and how much of that was tied to him?
A lot.
Yeah.
Like he's got a very strong personality, so you could argue, was he successful because it was the 80s and a lot of people were successful then? Or was it just he had his rules and they were very simple and objective, and he ran that way for a long time.
Yeah.
So you could argue a few different directions, right?
Right.
But he was attached, just like Bill Gates was attached to Microsoft.
Yep.
Steve Jobs to Apple and stuff like that. Multi-billion-dollar companies, right?
Right.
And they're still like, hey, I'm a manager. You know what I mean? So
no, I know what you mean. And it's hard to make that. I think for business owners, that's one of the most difficult transitions to make is to
let go.
To let go, and not even so much let go, but also shift your mindset. So that way, like, because I'm right now reading the book Essentialism.
Oh, sure. Great book.
Yeah.
Fantastic book.
I just started it, so I'm not very far into it, but about, being able to say no to things and the idea of trade-offs and things like that. So, but yeah, making that transition from, sole proprietor to manager to owner. I've been part of some, coaching and advisory systems that advisors that talk about those systems, and that's kind of living the dream. But it is so hard.
Yeah.
But then I try to think about examples in real life where I see it happening. And an example that always comes to my mind is I like football. I like watching football. Like I like watching the Packers. Did you know that? Did you know that about me?
I did not. I don't think I did.
There you go.
Yeah.
Know each other for so long.
Nice.
You just learned something about me.
Right.
So I'm watching football. I like watching the Packers and the Badgers and whatever. And
tonight's a big night for you then.
Tonight's a big night. So when I'm watching, I watch obviously the players, but I just as a business owner too, now you have perspective, that you watch the coaches.
Okay.
So like player screws up out in the field or a player gets hurt, head coach doesn't run out there.
No.
He's got his team,
Right.
and it's that system of hierarchy might not be the right word, but
Sure.
the head coach isn't going to run out there and be screaming at his player. He's going to be, the offensive coordinator is going to be screaming
Right.
at the quarterback,
Right.
whatever. But that's the picture I try to put in my head when I'm facing something that maybe I shouldn't be dealing with as the owner
Okay.
of the company. Is okay, is that really my job to
Right.
worry about that, or is that part of my, I don't need to jump in. It's
Sure.
hard not to, but
Right.
that's the picture I try to put in my head.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the case of, I'm thinking about football, right? Mm-hmm. In the case of a head coach, that player is a chunk of meat. And there are a million chunks of meat in line to replace that chunk of meat. Mm-hmm. So if that player is broken, it's not like, well, the NFL has to close off until this guy's leg heals.
Right.
Like, the show's got to go
Right.
on.
He's dealing with the bigger problems.
Yeah. So he's
yeah.
like, chunk of meat number 73, whatever, get out. It's time for number 74 to get in there. And you could say, like, oh my gosh, that's how cold. But in the end, it's a business.
Right? It's totally a business.
Tell all the people in the stands that this guy twisted his ankle and he's starting to tear up a little bit, so we got to hold off the game? Mm-hmm. No.
Right. It's learning what to say no to.
Yeah, anything shy of a death, and maybe even then, that game's going to keep going. Yeah. It better keep going.
Right?
Those tickets aren't cheap.
Nice.
I just paid $12 for a beer, and you're telling me you're canceling the game.
Right?
Yeah, no.
Okay, so you'd like to have Gunther on.
Yeah, or someone that
I'm sticking with Gunther.
did the move, had their few bucks in their pocket, and made it over the struggle and stuff.
Sure.
Like, it's surreal to me.
Yeah.
Surreal.
That's kind of a surprising answer. I would have expected, Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins would be a
Arnold
cool guy on here.
Schwarzenegger.
Super cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Be fantastic. Would love him
Right?
on here.
Yeah?
Yeah, because they got stories, right?
Right? Yeah.
Tony Robbins would be super cool, though I feel like I'd have to do everything I can to keep him off his script. Because he's very scripted, and he's very good at his script. Mm-hmm. So I feel like he loses some authenticity when he gets on his script. Mm-hmm. Like, we've heard this thing, for the past 30 years, right? You got to have a different answer by now. You've learned some stuff. Mm-hmm. So he would be one that would be super cool to learn from, but I feel like I'd have to throw him some curveballs.
I will say this about you, James. That is one of my favorite things about you, because you and I are we're very different.
True, very true.
We're kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. That's probably why we get along so well.
Right.
One of my favorite things about you that is just how you're not afraid to poke the bear.
No, those bears need to be poked.
I've seen plenty of examples over the years how you just poke the bear just to poke it. Not
Sometimes you got, people get in their pattern, and sometimes they need to get out of it, right? Sometimes you need to help them out. Yeah, they get in that trance, right? I've been doing this forever, and they're not going to improve, or they haven't improved. So,
well, I remember one time you told me you were challenging I think it was a parking attendant.
Probably.
At one point, and I asked her, I said, weren't you worried about hurting his feelings? Or I don't even remember what it was that you told him or challenged him on or yelled at him about or
Sure.
whatever. But your answer to me was, if he's mad at me, but it results in him improving,
Right?
I'm cool with it.
I am totally fine being the jerk.
Yeah.
Right? They're better people. The world's going to be a better place.
So
but if
you
they hate
come
me,
at it
sure.
from a place of trying to improve people.
Absolutely.
Not because you're, can be a jerk.
Yeah.
I tease you.
No, I don't mean to be a jerk,
Yeah.
but sometimes I come off that way, especially. Yeah, I don't remember the story with the meter person, but
Yeah, I can't remember.
Whatever.
It was quite a while ago that you told me that story.
those are one of those jobs you're like, we need it,
Right.
right? But also, who in their right mind would want to be that? Right? Like a tax collector, right? Like, hey, I went to school, I did whatever, and now I'm going to be the person that literally everyone hates.
So, okay. Well, so then speaking of jobs, if you weren't starting all these businesses and running them and growing them, if you had to have a job, what would it be? What would be your dream? Like, outside of all of this business owner stuff, what would your dream job be?
I think a bartender.
Really? Why?
I've always wanted to be a bartender.
Okay.
Because I feel like there's the social aspect of being a bartender. This is, again, you're entertaining, right? I don't have to be, when there's a crowd shoulder to shoulder in a bar, I have my space. Even though it's a very sticky floor and kind of stinks, I have my space, right? But then when it's a little slower time, you can also talk with people,
Yeah.
right? You can have a conversation with people and kind of get their story and have some fun with it. Mm-hmm. Plus I'm not much of a drinker, but I'm fascinated by the number of drinks that are out there and the different concoctions people make. I think of something like a White Russian, right?
Okay.
I like a White Russian, but I got to think somebody was sitting at the bar and they're like, what if I put milk in this? And there's no time that I'm at a bar and one of my buddies is like, you know what would make that drink better? Throw some milk in there, right? I can kind of see myself adding milk to just about anything. We're in Wisconsin, but you know what I mean? Like the different, and the names for stuff, the Bronx Cheer or Sex on the Beach, stuff like that is kind of cool.
Yeah, so bartender.
Yeah, I think it'd be kind of fun.
All right, nothing else? Any other? I mean, if any...
Pilot.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
Pilot would be super cool.
Like fighter pilot or like commercial airline pilot?
So flying a fighter jet to me seems super cool.
Yep.
And I remember when I was in high school, I imagine just about every kid got the calls from the recruiters, right? So I got a call from an Air Force recruiter. And I'm like, buddy, I would love to fly your jets, but I'm not really interested in shooting people I don't know.
Fair enough.
Right? And I don't think that you're going to give me that choice to be like, hey, James, what do you think about this, right? There's just going to be an order to go do this, and I respect people that do that, but that's a gray area for me that I'm not willing to cross in exchange for being able to fly a jet.
Okay.
So, but holy cow, would that be cool?
Yeah.
That would be so cool.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know what my job would be. I'd have to think about that.
Would you be a bartender?
No, I wouldn't be a bartender, mostly because I'm not a huge fan of people.
What about an author? Being a writer would be super cool.
Yeah, I would be a writer. That'd be cool. Or an artist.
Or like a painter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some sort of artist.
Okay, that's vague.
It's pretty vague. Well, I dabbled in a lot just in my... I need a creative outlet, so I've dabbled in a lot of artist books.
I have a client that needs a creative outlet, and she's very business oriented. She's doing super phenomenal with her business, but she's got that little portion that's bottled up. Mm-hmm. That's a challenge.
It is a challenge.
I find myself, I used to be a mechanic, and I have to have a project to work on and think about, and I find that exercises a different part of my brain than the typical business side, where I was very mechanical before. I kind of lose that if I don't use it. So I have to force myself into having projects.
Oh.
I say force myself because now I got a kid and you got a wife, so time is a finite commodity.
So how do you make those projects? Because one thing a lot of business owners struggle with is that balance, that work-life balance. And so it's those projects and those side interests that, at least in my world, always take a back seat.
Sure.
So how do you make those a priority?
There are times when I actually put it in my calendar.
Okay.
Say it's Monday morning, and I have to time it so that I know for sure that my wife and kid are not going to be home.
Okay.
Because it just wouldn't happen if they were home. Right? So I got to have a time when it's blocked out on my calendar. Employees won't be bugging me unless something's on fire. Wife and kid are in their, job and school, whatever. So it's just clear time, and you set aside 3 hours. Just knock out whatever project.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, hey, I got to replace a bearing on the front wheel bearing or something like that on a truck, where I could pay someone to do that, or I could just do it myself. And if I do it myself, I feel like, one, I'm going to do a better job just because it's mine. I'm going to learn something. I'll have more pride in it. And you get your hands dirty and you have to think through stuff like that. You're giving your mind a chance to think about other stuff, and I'll end up solving half a dozen problems completely unrelated to a wheel bearing, just in my head from concentrating on that wheel bearing.
That's a really good point, because I was reading about that not too long ago in another, I don't remember which book it was, but that importance of space away from work. Because, for all of us, our work is a big part of our life. And
huge.
So you get, bogged down and you can't see the forest for the trees. So, there's that school of thought to force yourself away from it because for that reason that you just said, that it opens up your other parts of your neurons in your brain.
Absolutely.
To solve other problems.
Giving it permission instead of trying to force it.
Right, and that's hard. That's hard for a lot of people.
It is. Yeah, I don't know. Like, if I'm a mechanically inclined person, right? So I enjoy that. I don't know if someone didn't have that. An outlet like they didn't know. Like, I don't think I'm creative, and I don't think whatever. All I do is work. Like, you have to have some other avenue.
Right.
Something. I don't care
Well, what
it
I
is.
struggle with is the guilt.
Oh,
It's guilt.
sure.
Guilt just weighs down.
Good old Bible Belt
Oh
here.
yeah, just heavy on my shoulders.
Sure.
Like, what am I doing, messing around with my camera gear when I should be out drumming up new business? Like,
All right.
it's guilt.
That's fair.
I mean, it's not rational,
Sure.
but there it is. There
Sure.
you go.
So
So
You have
what
to
would,
give
what
your-
would you, as a business coach yourself, what would you advise someone like me?
you have to give yourself permission. So there's a couple different avenues, right? One is you could reward yourself. You do X, then you earn this time, right? Or you could say, you know what? I'm a business owner, and one of the reasons that I started a business was for freedom or some illusion thereof, right? And one of the things that you can do if you were truly free would be to go take your pictures or paint your whatevers or replace your wheel bearings or whatever it is you do. So you're giving yourself permission. So you're a business owner, you got your freedom, use your freedom, right?
Right.
The rule that I have for my students and clients is that we are very good at building our own prison. Very good. We'll build it without even being aware that we're building our prison.
Okay.
So, hence you with that guilt, right? You got this business, you got your freedom, you never want to work for somebody else. But if you work for somebody else, you can get a vacation day and you can go take your pictures.
Right.
So now that you own your business, you're feeling guilty for taking some vacation?
Right.
Even if it was a couple hours?
Right.
That's not freedom.
That's true.
That's completely opposite of freedom, right?
All right.
So like, it's the whole, like, what am I doing all this for? And realistically, if you take a couple hours, few hours, or day, whatever, to do some stuff that's outside of your work, in a year, what is that going to matter?
Right.
Over the course of time, you could probably argue that to a point, right? Don't take 52 weeks off or anything. But you'll probably actually improve your business over the long term. You'll feel better, and you're telling your subconscious mind essentially that this is why we're doing this. So we can do this. We can go off and have some fun and chill out, do some other stuff, exercise the brain a little bit.
Right.
That you're doing your mind and your body a service, not a disservice by just working all the time, right?
That's true. So, okay, well, something else you mentioned that sparked another question.
Sure.
You talk about I know you teach a class,
I do.
couple of classes
Yep.
in business, and you have a couple of clients that some business advising and coaching.
Sure.
How has coaching and teaching others helped you in your businesses?
Oh, boy. One is it has helped me refine some systems.
Okay, give me a for instance.
Well, in calls on call, right, systems are super important all the time. But the systems that we had in place were essentially for our clients. So they're all set up if then, right? If a caller for this client calls in and they want X, we look in the flow chart for X, and then this is how the receptionist will respond to that, right? Get the information, whatever. So outside of that, in a given business, we have to have systems for the accounting portion, the bookkeeping portion, and the sales portion, stuff like that. We never really had systems for that. It was more or less just shoot from the hip.
Right.
And so I was talking with the client, helping them get systems set up for their business, and I thought, we should probably set this up for our own business.
Oh my
We're
gosh.
focused so much on our clients and their systems that we didn't even think about our systems.
Yeah. I am the worst. I'm my own worst client.
Oh, sure, everyone is, right?
100%, because, that's what we do too is, helping, our clients, get their task list done. It's a virtual assistant firm. That's our job.
Yeah.
And help teach them how to delegate, how to look at their task list and their to-do list and break it down into manageable pieces and help them understand what it is they shouldn't be doing, that they should be offloading to a support staff.
Right.
Yeah, I'm terrible at that.
Yeah,
I'm my own worst client
Sure.
when it comes to, our entire team is excellent at helping all of our clients do that. But
right.
oh my
Sometimes
God.
you got to be your own client.
I know.
Sign up today.
Right.
Yeah, that's a thing.
So what would you say? So you wrote the book. What was it about? Has it been about 2 years?
2 years ago, yep.
2 years
Yeah,
ago
it
you
came
wrote
out
the book?
September or the very last day in September 2017.
Okay. And so you wrote the book. It's got, you've got a lot of reviews on Amazon.
Oh my gosh, I fought for those. Oh my gosh.
So talk about the process of writing the book.
The writing part is easy.
Is it?
Dare I say? Yeah.
Okay.
So I was able to write the book because I sold the business,
Mm-hmm.
and that gave me some time to throw out the book. Being an author is one of those things that I've always wanted to do.
Okay.
So
So
chalk that up
professional
as-
bucket list kind of
Yeah.
thing. Okay.
Yeah. From my perspective, I was hoping that I could make a living on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told ever since I think I was in the second grade, when I was old enough to understand this, that you can't make a living as an author. Essentially, we had a guy come in, I think it was around second grade. We had a guy come in he was an author, and the assumption on my part now is that he must have made enough money to survive. But he came in to talk to us, and he's like, don't even try to be an author. It is so hard. And this is back, this is
you're 8
way
years old. Yeah.
before self-publishing was a
Right,
thing, right? So this
right.
is, you had to get a publisher. In order to get a publisher, you had to get an agent. And this guy's like, I had this manuscript, which it took me a little while to figure out that a manuscript is just a book that's not published yet.
Okay.
Like, that's an awfully fancy word for just a non-published book, right?
Sure.
Just a bunch of paper with words on it. So he's like, I sent in my manuscript, and I had the title right side up and everything else upside down just to see what they would say. And they essentially said no. And so from that, he learned that they never even read it.
Okay.
They didn't look at it. 'Cause he's like, I pour my heart into this manuscript, and they're not even going to look at it, so therefore it doesn't get published. So children, just throw football, become a pro basketball player, or something like that.
Because that'd be easier.
That is way easier than becoming a published author. And
Guy
so
sounds a little bitter.
yeah, and so I was thinking, well, that's unfortunate because I like to write. I'm in second grade, right? Like, I learned how to write a year and a half ago. But I was like, okay, so that dream is shattered. Great guest, right?
Yeah, right?
So I just, from that, I was like, okay, you can't be an author to make money. It has to be just a hobby kind of thing. And so I finally had time to write the book.
Mm-hmm.
And I had notes and little blogs and stuff like that were starts. And I just decided I'm going to sit down and do it. And when you schedule writing,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't mean just like an hour, like you schedule 6 hours, just camp out and boom, do it.
Right?
It's super cool.
So how long did it take you to write the book?
I think it was about a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then-
We'll call it a year, but it wasn't full time.
Okay.
I was still running 2 businesses essentially. Yeah, we'll call it 1.5 businesses.
Okay.
I don't know, so probably 10 to 20 hours a week.
So what did you learn through that process that you had no idea about?
Well, I thought I was good at grammar, but once I got some editors in there, holy cow. they work magic. It's so funny because I'll read books. Right? I'm reading one right now that I'm like, did you have an editor with this? This is a book it's a biography of Colin Powell.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm finding all kinds of grammatical issues and sentence structure stuff. And I'm by no means an English doctorate or anything like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a dude that happens to know the English language. So I'm reading this book thinking, I'm pretty sure this was on a lot of bookshelves, right? Where mine is like
Right.
on a handful of them. So the assumption is that they had an editor and maybe it just wasn't that great. Or maybe they pushed it out. I don't know when this thing was published. Like maybe the Gulf War was going on or something like that. So they just had to kick it out or something. Quick, write a book on somebody famous now. But I talked to people locally that are authors, and we're talking about the return on investment for book publishing. And I had one guy say, how'd it go? I said, I got $7,000 wrapped up in editing, and so it's going to take a long time. Right? Yeah, I should say editing and formatting.
Okay.
Right? So it's going to take a long time to recover that when you're making like a buck or 50 cents a book, or I can make 30 cents on a hardcover. Like, it's stupid. You have to sell millions of books, right? To come anywhere close to a head. And this guy is like, it's really not that bad when you can write a book without needing an editor. You don't have that to go through. And to be nice, I was like, that's interesting, right? But in my head, I'm thinking, I read your book. It's terrible. You can totally tell you didn't have an editor.
Yeah.
You
for
can
sure.
totally tell.
As a former editor, professionally,
Yeah.
every writer needs an editor.
Oh my gosh. Totally. 1,000 times yes.
Yeah.
I thought that I knew English pretty well, but I still got an editor. You helped me.
Yep, I
then
read
had
through
a
it.
couple others. And it's just every time it comes back to you and you're like, that is a lot of red.
Right.
When it finally came back to me without much red, when I had to scroll,
That was it? That
Oh
was
my
I'm
gosh,
done?
that almost-
We're done?
yes. Because at that point I was like, you could probably do it forever, right?
Right.
But I'm like,
Right.
I scrolled my job. What did I say? I said, if I have to scroll 10 pages without any more edits, then I'll figure I'll just make these changes that they've listed, and then I'm going to call it good. And I made it 20 pages without an edit. And I'm like, all right. I mean, granted, it went through that sifter 7 times, give or take. So that's a lot of sifting.
That is a lot of sifting.
So I'm learning.
Yeah. So you write another book?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
Yeah,
You're working on
absolutely.
it now?
I'm working on 2.
Okay.
One is a financial one because the classes that I teach, one of the classes that I teach is geared towards lower income people.
Okay.
And a lot of times people have pretty good ideas for starting a business. They just have 0 credit or not great
No
credit.
resources or...
I'll never say that they won't have any resources. They don't have any money,
Okay.
but it's usually because they made some bad decisions.
Okay.
Because I'll see someone come into class and they have next to no money. They're working a job that's paying them next to nothing. And they got a lot of debt, yet they have $20 worth of fast food that they're eating in front of them, right? So, like, if that's a daily occurrence for you, I know where your money's going.
Sure.
So
a financial book to...
Yeah, a financial book to kind of be, I don't think it'll be as thick as the Bold Business book.
Okay.
But it'll be one, just lay a foundation, just some stuff that I've learned to help get people on your feet.
Yeah.
Because I've been, like when I was in college, I was way upside down. And it's tough to get out of that hole
Yeah.
when you're upside down.
Yeah.
When you have the balance in red or in parentheses. Not cool, right?
Right.
So then you get the bounce check fees and interest and blah, blah, blah. All that stuff stacks up. And so it would be a guidebook for how to get out of that hole.
Oh,
Yeah.
that'd be useful.
Yeah.
There's
kinda
a
cool.
need out there for that.
There's certainly a need. Yeah.
Cool. So, okay, so we're on our 100th episode.
Yeah.
What do you want the next 100? What does the next 100 episodes look like for you? Like, same thing? Are you looking at, like, what is the vision for the podcast?
That's a
I mean, you've had
fantastic
some
question.
pretty cool guests on this
Yeah.
show and, really accomplished people and professionals and
Yeah.
do really interesting things. So, and there's really no shortage of those people, especially in our area by any stretch.
No, that's very true.
So, I mean, what are the next 100 episodes of the Authentic Business Adventures look like?
Well, I appreciate you asking.
Am I poking the bear? Am I
No,
poking the bear?
not
Oh.
yet. Are you
Darn
trying?
it. I'm trying to throw curveballs.
No, I would try. My goal is to get more higher profile people because I
Okay.
feel like a lot of higher profile people aren't asked about their story.
Okay.
There's an assumption, I guess, from a societal point of view, that success is instant.
Oh,
Right.
which is so
Not true.
not true.
No.
Not even a little bit.
It's like
not even a little
the
bit.
10-year instant success.
Right.
So it'd be cool to get some people that are known names, like that people on the verge of household,
Okay.
even if they're like D-level, like they're not even Dancing with the Levels fame, Dancing with the Stars fame, right? Like they're known-ish, right? It'd be cool to get their story. And I say not Dancing with the Stars fame because I'm sure it'd be cool to get those people. but
Right. You wouldn't turn them down if they came to you.
No,
and said,
no. But
"James,
nobody's
I heard
getting
awesome
paid
things
here,
about
right?
your podcast.
I'm not getting paid here. They wouldn't be getting paid here, so I don't know. I mean, running through agents, I don't take a whole lot of time to find people.
Right.
I'm just like, hey, you interested? Great. I don't
Yeah.
ask people more than twice.
Right.
Like if you said no or you ghosted me, whatever. There's more than a couple people in the world, so I'll just I'll just move along. But it would be cool to get the story of some people that maybe haven't had a chance to tell their story,
Sure.
but that have a story because everybody's got a story.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
Yeah. So stuff like that, or
So, do you have any favorite guests that you've had the last 100 episodes besides yours truly?
right?
That'd be number one.
You were a super cool guest.
That was super awesome.
Yeah.
Super fun. That was super fun. I was on the radio once. I did a radio program. Gosh, it was probably 6 or 7 years ago. And I bombed.
How did you bomb the radio?
Bombed. Oh, it was huge. Well, it was it was my first time. Okay, back up a step. My background's in media and publishing.
Sure.
So I understand media.
Okay.
But I've always been in print. I'm a writer,
All right.
not a talker.
You're the one that says bye, Rachel Rasmussen.
Right.
Okay.
So I was invited to be on this radio show that was a business radio show, and I was excited. I was nervous. But yeah, I wasn't used to the wrap up the answer to your question.
Oh.
And, I'm sure
Why would you commercial free here?
commercials and I wasn't prepared to answer questions in 30-second sound bites.
Oh, it's tough.
Where, like,
Yeah,
you
no.
know, because they were asking about Rescue Desk, my business, and which is great. Like, I could talk about it all day, every
Sure.
day, and I've answered a zillion questions over the years about how it works and all of this. And the hosts kind of challenged me a little bit on some questions. There were kind of questions
Poking
that we would
the bear?
No, questions that we would have been asked by any potential client.
Okay.
But
Stuff that takes longer than 30 seconds to answer.
stuff that takes longer than 30 seconds to answer.
So questions like, what all can you guys do?
Right. Right. Why do you charge what you do?
Oh.
Okay. Why would a business owner trust outsourcing their support tasks?
Sure.
Well, fair questions.
Sure.
100% fair. And I've answered them 100 times. But,
Right.
And I like talking about it because I really think it provides value, but
Sure.
not, like I said, and not being comfortable in front of a microphone with headphones on,
sure.
and you know, someone behind the glass doing the
Wrap it up, princess.
yeah. So I bombed. So totally bombed. And I was like, never again. It was I think I wrote a blog post about it several years ago. Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
All right.
I should have done this.
Dude, you got some cool blogs.
Oh, thanks. So, yeah, but then I came on your show.
Sure.
I was nervous because I was like, I'm going to
Were
bomb.
you really?
Well, yeah, I mean, experience.
It's James.
It's
We're in a
James.
studio.
You're like my brother from another mother.
Right.
So that was way fun. Hence why I'm hosting
Right.
today's episode.
Feels good, doesn't it?
Feels good. It's having fun.
There's a lot of power there in the microphone.
Totally a lot of power. So as a business owner, what's the weirdest thing that's ever happened to you? Like a request from a client, or anything that sticks out in all your years of being an entrepreneur, anything, just kind of that weird that sticks out. Like, and it just come from my world of weird requests from clients, but I don't know if that's relevant to you, but something along those lines.
So I sell calls on call, right? So I get calls on call, answering business. I had a potential client ask me if I had any pictures of my receptionist. And I told them, as far as you know, they're the best looking people you've ever seen. But we don't have video chat. We're just answering your phone. So
Is that why they asked?
No.
They
asked because they're a pervert.
Because they're creeper? Because he's a creeper?
Totally a creeper. Yeah.
Yuck.
But yeah, I didn't, you can't, in the end I wanted to make the sale, and I thought, can we sell a creeper? We can totally sell a creeper, right?
Oh, see, now I would have run away and been like, sorry, we can't help you.
No, they had a decent business.
So did they hire you?
Yes.
They did?
Yeah.
How long? Or are they still a client?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So that worked out?
Yeah.
Huh. Can I see pictures of your receptionist?
It was just kind of like, we're two dudes, yay, rah. I'm like, no.
Huh.
No.
Well, did they end up not being creepers in the long run?
I don't quiz a guy on his his
All right.
hobbies or anything like that, but you ask a question like that, I gotta assume that you're a little bit of creeper in the back end. But.
Yeah. So
That's
that's
just-
one weird. So that was weird. Anything else that you can think of, or here's another one. What's the biggest, as a business owner, what's the biggest problem or challenge you've overcome?
Oh boy, employees.
Okay.
Wait,
Well,
overcome.
yeah.
For now, I say that I've overcome it because I got a solid team now. They're super cool. But that was 8 years in the making.
Yes.
And when I had Doc Jams, employees were always a challenge. I had no idea that they were going to be a challenge.
Okay.
I started my business. I thought it was going to be super cool and easy from a employee point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Taxes, I thought, challenge, right?
Right.
P&L, incoming money, billing, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, I'm going to have to learn math. But employees, I thought, no problem. I'll hire them. I'll pay them. They'll do their job, punch out, go home. End of story.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not the end of the story because people come with so much baggage. And I've only got a few questions I've learned to ask people to try to figure out how much baggage they have.
Okay.
Because I don't want to... there's a lot of questions you cannot ask, right?
Right, of course.
Can't ask, do you have kids?
And everybody has a story, like you said.
Everybody has a story, right?
So.
But I also... There's, I guess there's two things that I have to look out for when I'm hiring. One is how much baggage do you have? And more importantly, what do you do with that baggage in regards to at work? What you do with your baggage outside of work, I don't care about, right? If you want to sit on the corner and cry all day long when you're not at work, have at it, man. Here's the tissue. Enjoy yourself. But during work, I don't want you on your cell phone bickering with your ex-boyfriend. I don't want you getting all these texts or calls from friends that are at their job doing whatever. I don't want that baggage. I don't want you crying because your boyfriend broke up with you 2 weeks ago or something like that, right? That baggage, I don't want. And I think it's safe to say that there's no employer that's like, I love people with baggage, right? Unless you're a creeper.
Right.
So the challenge is finding people that have limited baggage, because everybody has some, right? And more importantly, find ones that know how to deal with their baggage, that can take responsibility for their actions and stuff like that, which has been tough. It's been tough to find. That's been tough to find. It was tough to find in doc jams. It was tough to find in calls on call. I've had clients where it's tough to find for them.
Well, and especially in where we sit today as far as
the
economy and
unemployment's next to nothing, right?
Right.
We see restaurants that are closing because they can't find people. And it's interesting. I saw on Facebook there's a buddy of mine that's a restaurant owner, and he put up an article about one of their restaurants that's closing because they couldn't find people. And somebody that has never had a restaurant or a business before goes on there like, what do you mean you can't find people? Just pay them more. And to a point, I can understand that. But on the flip side, there's also a work ethic that a lot of people just don't have.
Okay.
That you could pay them $1 million a year to bust tables, and they still be like, you know what? I went out drinking last night, not coming in today. And I'm not even going to tell you. Right?
He's not going to show up.
Yeah, like it doesn't even faze them. In their mind, they're not doing anything wrong. So, because the world's going to keep spinning, right?
Right.
And I don't understand where their mindset is at, where that's an acceptable thing. But for a lot of people, that's completely acceptable. And it blows my mind.
Yeah.
So we're in a challenging spot from an employment point of view. So I'll say currently I've overcome that. But I imagine as soon as I try to hire again, as we expand, well, more of the same challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so employees, that's been a challenge.
Yeah.
Anything else that you can think of?
Um,
What do you think you're super good at?
Oh boy. I'd like to say communication, but then you just told me I was a jerk before. So,
It's called honest communication.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Honest communication. What am I super good at? I am super good at solving problems.
Okay,
So-
I can see that about you.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
I feel like I have a picture of the wolf from Pulp Fiction
Okay.
because that was one of my favorite movie characters ever. Because he was a no BS guy. He's just like, I'm here to solve the problem. I'm not here to care about your feelings. You called me to solve a problem. We're going to solve that problem, and you know it's going to get taken care of.
Okay.
So that is what I want people to understand about me, that if you come to me with a problem, I'm going to solve that problem,
Okay.
right? And maybe you're going to break some eggs while you make that omelet, right? And maybe you're going to cry about it for a little bit, hopefully not literally, but you're going to solve the problem. And I do that for a lot of people with a lot of things, and I feel like I'm good at that.
Yeah. What do you think you're not very good at?
Oh, sales.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Totally.
That surprises me.
No, sales is tough because I feel, you ever watch the Blues Brothers?
It's been years.
Okay. Do you remember the scene, the Blues Brothers, when in the very beginning, they're talking to the nun,
Okay.
the nun at the orphanage, and she
yeah.
says, we got to pay this bill, whatever. And Jake Elwood, right? Jake says, oh, we can get you that money by this afternoon. And she's like, I don't want your dirty money, right? And so he says, I guess you're up S Creek, right? Can't say it's public radio. So, and she's like, what did you say? And she pulls out the ruler and she cracks him, right? And he says, you presented a problem. I presented a solution. You said no to that solution. So I said, I guess you're up S Creek.
Yeah.
And then she cracks him with the ruler. They fall down the stairs and all this kind of stuff.
And that's the end of it.
And that's me, right? People, I can see they have a problem or they come to me with a problem. A lot of times people reach out to me.
Sure.
And I'm like, if you reach out to me, you're in the store. So that should be an easy layup for sale.
Right.
And I bomb probably half those.
So why do you think that is? Because I'm kind of surprised to hear you say that, because you are so honest and
Yeah.
forthcoming and
People like to be coddled, and I'm not really much of a coddler.
Okay.
So I think they want to be, nurtured,
Okay.
right? They want to have a conversation that's like 2 hours long or 75 meetings long or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, we answer phones, right? It's not like, I can't think of any, like, it's not brain surgery or something like that,
Sure.
right? Like, we're literally taking your voicemails, and instead of having an answering machine or your voicemail system answer it and you never check it and rarely call the people back or anything, we're just going to get rid of that system because that's antiquated and terrible customer service. And we're actually going to have a human answer the phone. And I feel like that's pretty much the end of the description, right? You're going to tell us how to answer the phone. You're going to just describe it and you're going to train us. But outside of that, there's really not any rocket science happening here. And I feel like I'm just like, that's what it is. Let's make it happen.
Okay.
And they're like, I had somebody, he asked me, what else can you tell me, James? I think he asked me that 15 times because I started to keep count. And I was running out like, I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know what else you're looking for. And I felt, and he never signed up, even though he reached out to us. He reached out to us 3 times and still hasn't signed up. I'm like, okay, this guy wants to be coddled and I don't even know how to coddle him.
Right.
I don't know. So from a sales point of view, I totally dropped that ball.
Right.
Right. And he'll probably reach out again in another 6 months. And again, I won't know how to coddle him.
You won't have anything more, just anything new to say?
It's to the point where there's sometimes when I'm just like, I'll tell you what, how about we just answer your phones for a month? Don't even pay us, right? Train us what to do, all that kind of stuff. And after a month, if you like it, then you pay us. But if after a month you don't like it, don't pay us. Because it's totally worth that for me not to go back and forth with you 75 times. Just try it. And if you're not willing to try it at 0 cost, I can't help you.
Yeah.
I can't help you.
He didn't take the bait, huh?
That one, I didn't offer that to him because, he did. Yeah, it was a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways.
All right. So sales, not your thing.
No.
No, just kind of is that a weakness that you are working on, or are you more of the school of thought of don't worry about your weaknesses, just focus on your strengths?
Yeah, it's one of those. I've taken sales training. I took sales training for a long time. But it's one of those, I have tried to force that personality, the coddling thing, and I feel inauthentic.
Okay.
So, and that's very rough for me.
Yeah.
So.
That's good.
So I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not the schmoozy salesperson, even though I see schmoozy salesperson making sales all day long. Like, I just can't. I'd have to kick my own ass if I did that.
All right. So what is a piece of advice that you probably give this advice in your classes. What would be a piece of advice that you would tell a brand spanking new business owner?
I got a laundry list of them.
I know you got a laundry list, but give me the top 1 or 2 things.
Systematize everything. That's like what you learn in E-Myth, right? Systematize everything, because there's going to come a time when either you want to grow or something bad's going to happen. Or you're going to want to take a vacation and someone else is going to have to step in. And you don't want to have to explain for 2 hours how to do a 10-minute job.
Okay.
So you want to have a system documented so you can just say, this is it. And you don't want some 6-inch thick binder. You want like a 2-page binder as for any given system, right? Something simple. So systematize everything is the first one. The other one is to be aware of the person that you're building yourself for yourself, surrounding yourself with, right? Just like what we talked about with the freedom and the time off, the vacation, all that kind of stuff. I have students, fair number of students that want to start something retail, restaurant, store, whatever. And in their business plan, they'll have them and maybe a part-time person or something like that for the employees, right? And they're going to be open 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Oh, geez.
So I'm like, no. If you want to do that, that's totally fine. But just be aware. Let's just look at what does your day look like. We're going to take 6 months in the future. This is your week. When is a part-time person working? And when are you working? And then you have to do paperwork and sales and stuff like that outside of that. And you got 12-hour days scheduled already. And sometimes that business plan is barely making it with that. So you got to think, like, the whole reason, or one of the reasons that we're doing this business plan is to figure out, is this business even viable? You're going to up your prices or figure out, maybe find a place that's less rent, something where otherwise you're married to that store.
Yeah.
Married to it.
Right.
So that's a challenge.
So awareness and systematize everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah. What would you say?
This is another reason why you and I are so different, that my brain went to the emotion.
Oh.
Play through the fear.
I didn't even have that in my head.
Yeah, I know.
That's awesome.
This is why we get along so well. And yeah, because, you can train all of those skills.
Sure.
How to systematize, how to, but you're never going to have all the answers.
No.
And you have to be okay with that.
Sure.
Otherwise, you won't move forward.
Right.
So
no one has all the answers, though.
No, I know, but it's hard for some of us who tend to overanalyze and overthink, and So, I remember my mom years ago, before I started Rescue Desk. I spent 6 months just trying to absorb as much as I could about what it meant to run a business. And so you end up going down the rabbit holes, because all I kept finding was more stuff I didn't know.
All right.
And
sure.
so, because it was like, how important is this? Because I had no frame of reference. How important is this? And so then dive down those rabbit holes. And it was exhausting. And it was scary. It just built up the fear even bigger.
That's so interesting, because I'm thinking back, how long did I take? And I'm like,
yeah.
I took a few weeks, I guess. I was working at a different job, and I decided, I actually offered to buy their service department, which was me. I offered to buy my job. Is essentially what it came down to, and they said no.
Oh God!
I don't know where they're at now, how
right.
their business is doing, but I'm like, I didn't. In my head, I did not have them say no as a thing, because I'm essentially offering. Because I offered them what I thought to be the silver platter of silver platters, right? I was going to offer essentially to buy my job, because they were going to have a hard time replacing me. Not that it's impossible, but for what they were paying, it would have been. There's a reason I was looking to start my own business.
Right.
It wasn't because I was making bank where I was working. Right. So it was funny. It's one of those, I don't know.
Awesome.
Just go. Yeah.
Awesome.
Jump, man.
All right, James. Well,
cool.
100 episodes. Thanks for letting me literally commandeer the microphone. I decided this 5 minutes before I walked in that I was going to try to throw a curveball.
You did a good job. This is cool.
To throw a curveball and say, James, give me that. I'm going to interview you today because,
sure.
I was lucky enough to be interviewed by you, it's almost 2 years ago.
Was it really?
Yeah, I think so.
Holy cow.
So it was like a year and a half, 2 years ago. And
sure.
so I said, today, for your 100th episode,
nice.
You're going to be interviewed.
This is cool.
I'm just taking it over.
I like this.
Literally
I'm just going to have to invite people, hey, what are your thoughts on interviewing me today?
Well, give people a chance to get to know your story a little bit. I know you interjected a lot in some of your, when you're interviewing your guests, but no, I'm just gonna do less talking and more asking.
Right on.
So
right on. This is cool.
This was fun.
Yeah.
So thanks for letting me do it.
Well, thanks for interviewing me. This is awesome.
All right. Well, this has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggles, stories, and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. Coming to you from the Sun Prairie Community Studios, underwritten by Bank of Sun Prairie. If you're listening to this on the web, please like, subscribe, and share. My name is Rachel Rasmussen, and I'm a proud guest host today. And Authentic Business Adventures is brought to you by Calls on Call, offering call answering and receptionist services for small businesses across the country, on the web at callsoncall.com, as well as Drawn Customers Business Coaching, offering business coaching services for entrepreneurs in all stages of their business, on the web at drawncustomers.com. And of course, the Bold Business Book, a book for the entrepreneur in all of us, available on Amazon and wherever fine books are sold. And I would especially like to thank you, our listeners, and our special guest, James Kademan.
Woo! Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah. Away we go. Oh, sure. What do we got here? Past episodes can be found morning, noon, and night at the podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. Thank you for listening. We will see you next week. I want you to stay awesome. And if you do nothing else, enjoy your business.